We're live.
Yay!
Folks, we got a red dot. Welcome back to Akron's hottest and fastest growing show, 3 Throw to Go. I'm your host, Hank Forrester, coming to you live. And it is 5:08 p.m. on a Friday. On your commute, we are catching you right now. And not only are we catching you in Ohio, but right now we are catching you in Florida as well. Yay. So, folks, thank you so much for tuning in, and welcome back once again to 3 Throw to Go. And I am here joined with our exquisite and wonderful intern from WZIP, Rachel, because she knows the technology that we're using right now, and I still haven't figured it out at my old age. And we're joined by Cheri, who owns Brush Tips Studio. Yay! All right, so I am going to throw out the question that we always ask, Cheri. And first of all, you and I know each other, okay? We met on 2 occasions, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, which you can see. Look,
4 occasions.
what? Yeah, it's two, 3, 4, somewhere like that. But look,
Yeah.
I got it. There it is. I've got the guitar.
I have the guitar right over here, right on the wall, right behind this computer.
All right. So Rachel sent me a list of questions, which
Sure.
I will let her ask you. Which the first one always that we ask is, what is your 330 story? What are you about? Where'd you come from?
So I grew up in Northeast Ohio. Yay! No cheers for that, but
I'm not running sound
I'm
effects.
not from here. Sorry.
she's like whatevs.
Yeah. Like, what kind of show is this? No clapping and cheers, whatever. No. So I grew up in Northeast Ohio. I grew up in Cleveland, actually, so 216. But as an adult, I moved to the 330. So here I am in the 330, and I started a business, and I've been rocking it ever since.
So now, you guys settled in, and Rachel, this is where I'm typically gonna do my thing and just interview, and you have to interrupt me because I talk too much. That's just what I do. Okay, so this is the first time you and I are actually working together on cam. All right. So
like you're a naturally born communications major.
Sure, we'll go with that. So how'd you end up in Wadsworth?
Okay.
How did that happen?
So I moved to Medina, and we were living in Medina, but we were right on the border. So we went to Wadsworth for everything because it's a little bit smaller than Medina, a little bit easier to maneuver, and you're in and out a little bit faster in Wadsworth. So I was actually looking around for a place to open up a studio, and I looked everywhere. I looked in Fairlawn, I looked in Copley, I looked in Highland Square, and I worked my way all through Akron, and I could not find anything. So everybody wants to open a business over in that area because it's such a great area. So I was driving down 94 one time and saw this for rent sign, so I pulled in there real quick and got that address, and I was like, hey, can I rent this spot? And they said yeah. So that's how I ended up in Wadsworth. It wasn't any like magical, hey, let me put you here. But when I moved there, I fell in love with that little tiny community, and it's so awesome. It's so close knit, and the relationships that I've built there are amazing. So I think it was God like pushing me out of the 330 of Akron and pushing me into the 330 of Wadsworth.
So like we met, God, I remember somehow I just got, somebody brought up Brush Tips back when we were first doing business coverage of just stuff and events, and you were doing like some sort of a painting something at like I think it was the Blue Tip Festival or something along those lines.
Okay, that's a time ago.
Yeah, and it was one of those deals where we were like, okay, what does she do? And then you had started working with Wadsworth Public Television. Rachel, have you had a chance to look at their page at all or anything about Brush Tips yet?
I haven't been able to watch a full episode, but I know how to find it now, which I would definitely recommend that people do because it seems really cool.
Yeah, so she's like she's like the female version of Bob Ross, okay? And for the whippersnappers that are tuning in right now that don't know who Bob Ross is,
We
he's
have
a
and Bob Ross here. I should go pull him over to the screen.
right. You got a Funko Pop of Bob Ross, don't you?
No, I have a giant cutout.
Oh, so Bob Ross was what, 70s, 80s, 90s painter, and he had a big afro about this big, and so we would go in school and we'd go out for the fraternity, you know, we'd party on Saturday night and we would all get up, we'd go to church, do our thing, and then we would all gather in the living room on Sunday morning, and Bob Ross was on, and he would have a half-hour painting show, and he just would talk you through it as he's doing it. You know what? We're just gonna put a happy little tree and a happy little bush right here, and he'd be cutting the oil paints and putting it all in there, right? And we were fixated. We'd all be watching eating our morning snacks and watching Bob Ross together, right? And literally, that is what Cheri does. She is the
26 minutes.
She's the female version of Bob Ross, okay? And I saw someone, I can't remember who said, "Hey, you got to check this girl out," but you know, we went and then I shadowed you. I went because at that time you were on Wadsworth Public Television, right? So tell us about that part.
So I was on Wadsworth Television, and then you had just kind of started really moving on this 330 to go right here. So you and I were talking, you were like, wait, I need to figure out how they do this. So I invited you onto a show, but you just wanted to see the backgrounds. You didn't want to actually do the show, which I was fine with because you probably would have talked the whole 26 minutes. So I just said, hey, why don't you watch back here? You did. And I painted that guitar right behind you. And they're super amazing over there. I've won a couple different awards for the TV show. I've won a Clapper Award 2 times in a row, and then I've won a Filbert's Award, and I don't remember where I put it. I'm like looking around the studio, like I know it's here somewhere. Where did I set it? It needs to be hung up. So we are an award-winning show, and it's called Brush Tips. I did put Brush Tips with Cheri on it just because we didn't want to like try to advertise the business too much during the show, but it is called Brush Tips. And that's what I do. Like Bob Ross, 26 minutes, and we on WCTV is 26 minutes, and I give you all kinds of amazing paint tips. We finish a painting from beginning to end in that whole time, and I tell like what colors they need, what brushes, all kinds of stuff. So
all right, so
it's just a good time.
I'm going to toss it over to Rachel. And I got your questions in front of me, and I'm going to shut up, and I'm asking you – she's laughing. No, he's not going to shut up. Gretchen's already busted my chops over here. Hank doesn't talk too much. Who would say such a thing? Thanks, Gretchen. Love you too. So I want you to ask questions 3, 4, and 6.
Okay. That definitely works for me. So you definitely that's first of all, I do know who Bob Ross is, very crazily enough. The internet has been very kind to sort of crown him as one of like the great public television legends up there with like Mr. Rogers and Steve Irwin. But yes, very much. But yeah, it seems to be something that you're really passionate about doing, especially if you were just like definitely just going to take it up, rent this place, make it my own, and do stuff like that. So what I got to ask, what like got you interested in art? Was it something you did like when you were young? Did you get into it later in your life?
Yeah, so I've been doing art since I was little. I mean, I remember at 4 years old, my mom sitting there like painting the little nativity scene figurines, and I'm like, I want to do that. I need to do that. And I remember going to school and art being my only favorite class. And just finding like coloring and using watercolors and stuff was a lot of fun for me. And then as I got a little bit older, a few years later, my mom used to make like Easter candy. Have you ever seen them where like they make homemade Easter chocolates?
I've never seen
so
that.
they're kind of cute. But there's a little duck one, and it's holding a daisy, and I'm like, why don't you make those colorful? So I actually started painting chocolates when I was like 5th grade, and that was what really was like, okay, I love using a brush. And then she used to have these little ceramic houses, and I kind of feel like all she used me for was art. She used to have these little ceramic houses, and I used to paint them if they would like chip or something. I would touch them up or paint them up, and I absolutely loved doing that too. Then in, I think, 5th grade, I actually won an art show where I actually went, my piece went to Columbus, and I won an art show, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually good at art. And I used to just love the way like the art room smelled and the way crayons smelled. You know, you walk in and it's like just a great smell of creativity. And honestly, not a lot of people know what that smell is, but when you walk into either one of my studios, people are like, it smells so good in here. And I'm like, it's just the creativity. Like, it's just the paint and the markers and the crayons and the paper and canvas and everything that we have going on. So, I mean, we definitely create like a huge atmosphere here just around those things from my childhood. So, and then I went from there. I took every art class, welding class, any kind of class that you could think of in high school. I did them all, and that's where I learned all of my stuff with painting and art, even welding and woodworking. We used to burn wood. We did like a burned wood project. We did whittling and all that. I know how to do all that stuff.
Nice. Very cool. So you said before that like when people walk into your studio and it just smells good, it's you can, it's just, you say you can smell the creativity. What are some of the things that people can do if they come to visit you at your studio?
We have a ton of different things that they can do, but one of our most popular is the canvas painting, because that is what's super trendy right now. People love doing wine and canvas. Kids love painting on canvas. It's an easy thing to do, and it's not as intimidating. We also have resin work, where people can come and do resin work. And if you haven't worked with resin, it is super trendy right now. If you look at TikTok or maybe some of your other social medias, you'll see that there's tons of artists doing resin work. We paint on wood. What else? We don't do glass painting. People always ask if we do wine glass painting, and I don't, because I used to do it a long time ago, and it's just not my passion. But for the most part, it's like wood, resin, canvas. And if there's something that people want to do, they just let me know, and I try to figure it out for them, and we work together, and then I help them create something.
Perfect. Sorry, I was looking around because I remember like you were like canvas painting is like big right now, and I did a canvas painting for school a little bit ago, Zippy. So yeah, I definitely see it's like a very cool quarantine sort of activity that you can like do together, like over Zoom and stuff.
That's been huge, because we've been mailing out canvases and paint and little paint kits for people during quarantine. So that's really been huge. That's kind of what's been keeping us afloat, you know, with the whole quarantine thing.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, we did kind of talk about how you got interested in it, and we talked a lot about, you know, kind of bigger artists like Bob Ross and stuff. Where do you find your biggest inspiration for you, like, personally as an artist?
Honestly, my customers.
Interesting.
I know that sounds like very typical of somebody to say, but my customers come in here and they're fresh. Like some have come in and they've never created before, or never painted on canvas before, or never done resin work before. And they are the ones who inspire me to make sure that I do the best that I can, or paint the best that I can, or do resin work the best that I can, because they're here inspiring me to do that. So that's honestly, like, I don't go and follow any specific artist. It's just like what my customers do and give me in return that I give them, presenting them with a place to create.
Perfect. Well, that's really cool. I guess I will toss it back over to Hank.
All right. So there's this really big elephant in the room right now. Okay. So you are not in the 330 right now.
Not in the 3.
You are in Florida, okay? You guys are experiencing what? Your 4 days of winter right now, right? And it's gonna be 80 this weekend again, right?
Today was 73.
See,
It was 47.
oh my gosh, 47. It's gonna be in the next 3 days here. It's gonna be like 2
Nope.
degrees.
I'm okay with that not being here.
All right, so how did this happen? So all right, so you're in Wadsworth, you're humming along, pandemic punches you in the mouth,
Yeah.
And
Nope.
then you
It was
and then you
mouth.
and then you and then the two of you as a couple, you're like, hey, let's just take a plunge and go to Florida.
Yeah. So obviously the pandemic happened and business was low everywhere at my husband's job, at our studio. Obviously we had to shut down our studio from March till June. So that was huge. And during that time I was like, we should move. Everybody was quarantined. I'm like, we should just go. So sorry, customers driving by and they're like waving at me. Then I felt weird. I had to wave back. So I said, we should move. And he said, okay, let's go. And well, I went to sleep. And then in the morning I woke up, he said, okay, let's go. So I was like, okay, let's go. And I'm the kind of person that, like, when you tell me that, you can't say you're joking afterwards because I already have the house packed. Like, and I'm already looking for a place to live because I moved a lot growing up. So I am happy with moving. I love moving. So I was like, okay, let's go. So we did. And it was crazy because in January, we went on a cruise and we came here to Tarpon Springs after the cruise. We had to pick up a piece of furniture for my in-laws who live down here. And I stopped at this little shop called One Amazing Find, and it's one amazing place. So I stopped there and I went in and I was talking to the girl there and I was like, I would love to own a little shop down here. It is just like this cute little tropical town in downtown historic district of Tarpon Springs. So I was like, I would love to own a little shop down here. She's like, well, you never know, you might. And I'm like, yeah, right. We're never leaving Ohio. And then here we are. March hit and we moved. We came here June.
So all right, so you go down. There's a transition period, obviously, right? So obviously you think, okay, well, I want to continue my business down here. You find a place, you open up down there. How did it work with finding someone up here, up in Ohio, to help you to manage the current brush tips that's in Wadsworth?
So I have an amazing team up there. Actually, I have to give all my credit to my girl, Abby. She is my right-hand girl. She is right there with me running that studio up there. I used to work with her a few years ago, and then she started doing classes for me when I wasn't able to do them up there a few years ago. So then it just kind of hit off. We hit it off from there, and now she does all my webpage work. She's taught me how to do MailChimp, and that's what she does. She does all of our marketing and helps me with that, plus runs the studio up there.
Is that better? Can you hear me? Okay. So yeah, so you got that going on.
Yeah. So
and now you're doing your thing. Okay.
Studios.
And now, so here's what's interesting to me. You see my shirt? Whoop.
Yeah.
Okay. You are literally operating the same business under two different governors with two completely different sets of rules. So what is that like?
It is crazy because I follow Ohio still. So I hear all of Ohio stuff and I really don't know what the rules are down here, but people, they still sign up for classes. So I'm like, well, I hate to say that, but I really don't know like all the rules down here. I know we have to wear masks, so we wear masks at both places.
Okay.
I know that they ask that we social distance, so we social distance at both places. And up there, we do a lot of Zoom paintings. So a lot of people opted to do the Zoom classes, and that's fine too. People come, they pick up all their material from the shop, they go home, we give them a special Zoom link, and we've had parties, tons of parties over Zoom painting with people all over the world, all over the United States.
Very
yeah.
cool. And that was one of Rachel's questions next was about the show. So what now? What are we going to do? How can we help you? What are we going to do together now?
Okay.
How's this work?
Okay. So what I'm thinking is that we can do this awesome little paint show right here on 330 to go, where I come on and then we just paint with your audience so they can all paint, and it'll help them like get through this anxiety ridden time or stressful time, and it'll just bring some, paint happiness to everyone.
So from a format standpoint, do you want to still try and stay within that 30 minutes? Is that what you're thinking?
Oh yeah, I think 30 minutes is good because it just keeps everyone right there focused. It's only a 30-minute show, and we can get a painting done in 30 minutes. And if they have to, they can always come back and watch it later and pause it and fast forward and slow it down and, all that other fun stuff that you get to do with technology. All
right, so when we're done with this, Rachel, let's make sure that we put the links up. I guess the next step would be we want to equip our audience, okay? So in other words, let's say, for example, Rachel's got her Zippy painting, right? So let's say that there's 30 people at Akron U that want to be a part of the paint class. Okay, there it is. So I would assume we'll put them in contact with the local place here in Wadsworth,
right?
Or whatever affiliates you work with as far as to get supplies up here in Ohio. So whatever you're thinking from that standpoint, let's work with whoever you want to work with. We want to equip people so they could get the what's it called?
Canvas.
This thing?
Canvas.
We want to get a canvas, right? And then we want to get the paints they're going to need and whatever, I guess, brushes they would need to be a part of like a class or whatever you're going to do. And that way they're ready to go. So when you say, okay, today we're going to be painting a sunflower, and then everybody tunes in and they're ready to go, right?
I think that since we're going to have a co-host with you anyway, it would be great if, if Hank's doing it, we could see his.
No. You
go. Wants to see you paint. Wait, anyone who wants to see him paint should comment.
No.
Yes.
No. This isn't a co-host thing. I just did aerial. I just did aerial yoga. I did aerial yoga. I'm still traumatized from that. I'm not. I'm not.
That was great.
You're painting.
But like,
all right.
Fun.
No choice. Your audience demands that you paint.
All right,
for sure.
But I can't even figure out the technology of how to go live with what she just did with all this. Okay, so
I'll paint with you, Cheri. It'll be fun.
Yeah, Rachel will paint with me too.
Hey, you guys figure it out. We'll get a schedule set up. But the idea now is we're going to be launching. Does this thing have a name?
Let's just call it
brush tips.
Yeah, brush tips.
Brush tips with Cheri.
There you go.
Brush tips with Cheri. Okay, so we'll be looking to kind of do a schedule and launch that in the next week or two. So what else? So last thoughts from you, Cheri. What are your thoughts?
So this is not the last of a company, okay? We actually have a little secret behind the scenes thing that I'll share with just you guys and whoever's watching. We're actually starting a subscription box. So, so what people will be able to do is they'll be able to sign up for our subscription box, and they'll be able to paint along with us on their own time with their own videos. And they'll still be able to tune in here and paint here too with the things in the subscription box too. So it'll be super awesome because they'll have so many different places to go to find videos of us painting and sharing all of our art and how to create all these amazing masterpieces. So that's our big
and art is one of those things that it's an expression of one's self. And, you know, especially as we go through this, you know, the way I see it, you know, from my desk, we can now honestly say that we're probably only midway through this pandemic. And as we continue to kind of blunder our way, yeah, really. So as we continue to kind of blunder our way through our daily lives, having that expression where you can have that release, and it's like, okay, well, here's your guitar. This is your version of the guitar. Well, here's my version of the guitar. And it's just, you know, I've painted before, but it's nothing I've ever done for any length of time, but I can understand how it could be very therapeutic for people. So yeah, I think by offering this as a service and offering this as, especially as part of our network offering, I think it's a fantastic idea.
Let me share this with you too. That is my passion for this company. I didn't start this company because for myself to be able to paint. I already know how to paint. I don't need to know how to paint. I started this company so that I could create artists, so that I could let people see that they can create no matter what. And I have people come in here all the time. I had a guy who pulls satellite dishes off the side of the road, and he came in the other day and he said, hey, I paint satellite dishes. And I'm like, oh, okay. So he showed them to me, and he's like, but I'm no artist. And I'm like, absolutely, sir. And you are not allowed to leave here until you say that you're an artist. And I have another lady who's been coming in down here, and she's super amazing, and she loves to do resin. And she came in and she's like, but I'm not an artist. And I'm like, Amanda, you are not leaving until you tell me you're an artist. And she has sold her first piece this past week. So she actually has started creating on her own. And that's why I do this. That's why I kept the place open up there, is because so many people rely on us just teaching them how to become the artist and open up their artists' thoughts and their mentality of just creating and not thinking inside that tiny little box that society keeps putting us in. I'm like, no, spread it out, go, be free, run wild.
And that's great. That's great.
Yeah, it's really great because
it's great.
It just makes me look like I'm a little bit crazy and not a whole lot crazy when I'm making the rest of the world artists.
All right. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. And Rachel, I'm gonna ask you right now live. Have you watched it yet, Wanda?
Yes. Oh my gosh! I can't wait to talk about it tomorrow.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me. So our family movie night is going to be every Friday night, WandaVision at the dinner table. I got to go cook first, but we're watching it tonight, and then I'll start sending you spoiler texts. So, folks, that leads us into what our next coverage will be, and that is tomorrow. Rubber City Reviews, back at it again. They're going to be doing WandaVision, a breakdown of episode. Yes. We're at 5 now, aren't we?
5.
All right, episode 5. So Cheri, get Nico caught up on not only WandaVision but also Mandalorian. I gave him an assignment. All right. So, folks, thank you so much for tuning in, Cheri. We're looking so forward to working with you and giving you an opportunity to share your art with both Florida and the 330 simultaneously. I think it's gonna be fantastic, folks. Again, Rubber City Reviews will be live tomorrow, and we'll share that for you. And I don't know what I'm covering anytime soon, but make sure if you're planning on going to Mardi Gras, make sure you check that notice, because pretty much New Orleans is canceled like everything. All right. So check that out. Hey, guys, I don't know when we'll be doing this again, but until then, I don't know where I'm going, but there ain't no sense of being late. Everybody out there, say goodnight, Shirley.
Good night, guys. Bye.
Good night, Shirley. I didn't know if I was supposed to do it.
Like my good night,
Of course you do. And now hit the button. And hit the button.
Right?